Hi, I'm Nettie Francis with Nettie's Notes, and today I'm filming from beautiful Capitol Reef National Park. Today's 2-minute tip is my monthly promo about the 4th grade National Parks Pass. This is a pass that you can get when you have a 4th grader, and it's good from September 1st through August 31st of that year. It's very easy to get this pass. You just go to the website, which I have in the comments below. There's a place on the website where you can click that you are a 4th grader or you have a 4th grader, and you answer 2 or 3 questions and then print out a little pass that you take to the entrance gate of any of the national parks. And there at the entrance gate, the park ranger will give you this 4th grade card pass. Once you have the pass, then your 4th grader signs the bottom of it. As you can see, my daughter signed here. And then it's good for that year, like I said, September 1st through August 31st. This has been great for our family. We've used our 4th grade pass this year at Yellowstone National Park, at Yosemite National Park. We're here this week at Capitol Reef National Park for spring break. And in the summer, we're going to Canyonlands National Park. This is a great opportunity to get kids into a park, to get families into a park. Remember, it's important to be a fresh air family, and you can watch my blog on fresh air families with ways to get outside every day, every week, every month, every year. I highly recommend getting the 4th grade pass, and make sure that you take advantage of it when you do have a 4th grader. Our twins are in 4th grade this year, so we have 2 4th graders, and so we're trying to get as much national park visiting in as we can. Make sure that you reserve campsites early for the national parks, 6 months in advance, because they fill up quickly, but there are also usually campsites nearby the parks that you can camp in if you can't get into the actual park. Another exciting feature of the national parks is the Junior Ranger program. Our kids have done the Junior Rangers every time we've gone to a national park. Recently, some of the parks have started charging a $3 fee to get the Junior Ranger pass. But here at Capitol Reef, the Junior Ranger is still a free booklet and a free badge when you complete it. These keep the kids busy and keep their eyes open and their ears open as they learn about the park and as you travel through the park. It is so much fun to get outside as a family. It feels like heaven because you have all your family in one place, and the best part is there is not always cell phone coverage or service. You're not bothered by texts and emails and phone calls. You can just be a family and get outside and enjoy. So remember, if you have a 4th grader, take advantage of the Every Kid in a Park program. Get your 4th grade pass the summer before they go into 4th grade so you can start using it on September 1st and go to as many parks as you can in that year. That's the end of my 2-minute tip for today. However, you can join me for 10 minutes of beautiful scenery and views and more information about visiting Capitol Reef National Park. Capitol Reef National Park is located about 4 hours south of Salt Lake City. We rented a campsite and took our small vintage trailer. In the morning we had yummy breakfast burritos, and then we took a walk from the campsite over to the visitor center. Along the way you can stop at the blacksmith shop and take a peek at where the original pioneer families did their blacksmithing. It's about a mile's walk to the visitor center, and along the way the kids had some fun on the rocks. At the Visitor Center, we picked up our Junior Ranger awards and then walked back and stopped near the orchards to have lunch. Some of the fruit trees were just starting to blossom, and we sat by the river and ate our picnic lunch and then walked across the river and across the highway to the original Fruta schoolhouse. We were lucky enough to have a ranger there who opened the schoolhouse and also showed us some of the original maps in the schoolhouse. That was a highlight of our trip. It's amazing to think of those pioneer families sending their kids to school there for years and planting beautiful fruit trees right there in Fruta, Utah. After we left the schoolhouse, we went up into the part of the park that actually has a fee and took a beautiful drive through the park. Of course, we used our 4th grade pass, and along the way we couldn't help but stop and take some pictures of what we were seeing. We drove all the way to the end of that road and took the hike to the Petroglyphs, Narrows, and the Pioneer Register and the tanks. And it was a great hike. It took us about an hour to hike back into there. And along the way, the kids just loved climbing up on the rocks and being adventurous. Some of the way was sunny, some of it was shaded, but there were a lot of fun holes and places for kids to climb in. And the views were just beautiful as we hiked along. We did see the Pioneer Register, and that was really cool to see places where pioneers had put their names. And then at the end of the trail, we hiked up to where the tanks were. This was the only part of the hike that was a little bit dangerous for some of our tiny kids. We held their hands and had to be careful, especially as we got up to where the water was. It was so cool to see the water way up there in the midst of this otherwise desert place. There were several different pools of water, and we hiked around until we had seen quite a few of them. And like I said, there were cliffs and places that we kind of had to hold hands and climb around some of the pools. But for the most part, it was fairly safe and very fun. We found a lot of neat formations and different sizes of pools of water. And in some of the places, you could look down and actually see some natural bridges that had been formed by the water. Hiking up onto those cliffs and around the tanks was definitely one of the highlights, and is one of the hikes that I recommend for families there at Capitol Reef National Park. We hiked out, and it took us, again, probably another hour to hike back out to our car. And then that night we went back to our campsite and made some yummy hobo dinners around the fire, and also cooked some apples in tin foil just as it was getting dusk. We finished dinner just in time to do our dishes by candlelight and then make some cobbler and enjoy the cobbler. We ate our cobbler inside of our vintage trailer, and you can watch for another YouTube video where I'll give you a trailer tour of our vintage trailer and some of the fun highlights of this beautifully restored Shasta trailer. The next morning, we decided to take a hike up out of our campsite. It was called the Cohob Canyon, and the first part of the hike was quite steep and had quite a quick ascent, and we could look down and see our trailer down in the valley where we were camped. But don't be fooled, because it was a gorgeous hike, and like I said, the initial part was a little rocky. We held our little guy's hand, but then once we got up into the canyon, it was just amazing. The trees we saw, the formations, again, the rocks that the kids could climb on and enjoy. It was just a heaven, and so fun to be there as a family. No cell service, no distractions, just lots of beautiful areas. And we could see there are two different lookouts you can walk up to. We went to just one of the lookouts, and you could look down over the Fruita Valley and see a lot of the orchards and the campsite and more of the beautiful rock formations. Cohob Canyon was a great hike. We left the Cohob Canyon hike by hiking down to Highway 24 from those lookouts, and then we crossed the highway, and there's a parking area there where you can park and hike up to Hickman Bridge. And that was another great family hike. That's a hike you can do from the highway, like I said, without actually paying to go into Capitol Reef National Park. Hickman Bridge hike was beautiful. Then we hiked back along the highway and past some of the orchards along the road up to where the petroglyphs were, again, right along the highway, and a lot of people stop there and see those petroglyphs. We ended our day of hiking at the Gifford House, which is one of the original homes there in Fruita, and we got some ice cream there. They also have some jams and jellies and other cute things that you can buy as you tour that original home. And we took our ice cream back and ate it with baked apples at our campsite. A fun final evening after a long day of hiking at Capitol Reef. Capitol Reef is great because it's the smallest of the 5 Utah national parks, and it's a little bit secluded and not as popular. Fun place to camp. We had a great time. The kids enjoyed doing their junior rangers, and we finished our stay there by visiting the visitor center and having all the kids get their junior rangers awarded. I highly recommend a family camp at Capitol Reef National Park. Thanks for joining me today from Capitol Reef National Park. See you next time.